Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson, a World Alternative Media here, and of course we're joined by author and economic analyst here at WAM, John Sneisen, and Deutsche Bank is at it again. As we've been reporting on for many years here at WAM, Deutsche Bank has been in, I don't know if it's anything short of a car crash. I mean, I can't help but watch it. It's so brutal. It's so cringy. They've dropped in value like a rock. Their share price continues to hit all-time lows again and again and again, and they've just been in a tailspin for over 10 years for sure, 100%, even further than that. And I got to note that obviously we were reporting years ago on their $75 trillion derivatives exposure. Now it's down to around $45 trillion. Ooh, big improvement. In the meantime, they've laid off countless people. They've tried to merge with Commerzbank, another failed bank, and failed at that once again. And it's crazy because I was in Frankfurt, Germany, and I trolled Deutsche Bank at their headquarters, and across the street is Commerzbank. It wouldn't have been that difficult to just merge, and but anyway, they're all criminal banks, and they're all doing terrible. Most banks are bankrupt right now. If you look at their own balance sheet, Deutsche Bank's actually doing well compared to a lot of others, which says a lot as far as their balance sheet goes. But Deutsche Bank has continued to lay off tens and tens and tens of thousands of people again and again and again, and their restructuring plan, they keep pretending like, oh, it's just part of making a Deutsche Bank great again. It's not. It's continuously going downhill, and they're involved in scandal after scandal, spoofing markets, caught red-handed. It's just they were downgraded by the S&P. They had to redo their living will. They've been trying to create a bad bank. It's so bad, guys. And there's more. This Financial Times article says Deutsche Bank to cut 100 million euros from domestic retail banking unit. And as the article goes into, Deutsche Bank plans to cut about 100 million euros in annual costs by streamlining its corporate structure in German retail banking, as Chief Executive Christian Sewing prepares to face investors on Tuesday. The German lender plans to scrap the separate legal entity that runs its domestic retail banking operations, which is called Deutsche Bank Private und Vermögenskundenbank AG. Sorry if I pronounced that terribly, but I don't really care. Continuing on, it says, and merge it into the group structure according to people familiar with the situation. Deutsche Bank is expected to formally announce a decision at a capital markets day on Tuesday, where Mr. Sewing is facing pressure from investors to show progress in executing the most radical restructuring in the bank's history. The revamp, which was unveiled in July, comes at a time when Deutsche is reeling from falling revenues and high costs, to say the least. The PFK structure dates back 2 decades to a time when Deutsche wanted to exit retail banking, either through listing its business on the stock market or merging it with a rival. While the bank never went through with this, it kept the legal entity it had created for the mooted spinoff. At the end of 2018, PFK employed 34,000 staff and held a fifth of the bank's total assets. It has a separate banking license, its own executive and supervisory boards, and separate risks and control functions. This has led to duplication and internal red tape, according to people familiar with the situation. By getting rid of the structure, Deutsche hopes to save some 100 million euros a year without additional job cuts. This will contribute about 7% to the private bank's total cost reduction target of 1.4 billion euros by 2022. Deutsche Bank declined to comment. I want to note, John, that I guarantee you, and we've said it again before, and I'll say it again, and probably get more vindication, unfortunately. I mean, Deutsche Bank is probably going to be the major domino to fall in the global economy, and we've been talking about that for years, and we've been right about it. But I also think that they think that this restructuring and this cut of 100 million euros will stop them from having to lay off more people down the line. And how much do you want to bet that 100% they will be cutting more jobs in the next year? So I know we're going to be reporting on it. What do you think, John, about this latest news out of Deutsche Bank?
Well, they're a zombie bank, walking, Josh, and there's no way we're going to actually be able to save Deutsche Bank at all. Deutsche Bank is dead. It's been dead ever since the 2008 crisis. If you take a look at the actual share price, at the height, it was $120 per share in 2007. And then it dropped down to currently it's 7.21. But what's even more interesting is Like, let's look as far back as 2001. On the 10th of January, no, the 1st of October, 2001, it was $44.05, the share price, which is insane. With all the money that's been printed in the world, you have like Deutsche Bank lost basically most of its value. It's
John,
almost
who's
worthless.
investing in Deutsche Bank in 2019, 2020? Like, who's actually doing that?
I don't even know who's investing. I think the repo market was a issue with Deutsche Bank being one of them. I seriously believe that, where JP Morgan, I was sitting on most of the excess reserves, which is the reserves that they have at the central bank that they could pull out in order to save themselves, and then lend it, they were going to lend it. That's the repo market. But I think what happened was that Deutsche Bank, the participants in the repo operations were unwilling to actually bail out Deutsche Bank. So the Federal Reserve had to come in and bail out Deutsche Bank in the United States parts of it. And of course, Deutsche Bank, they've been rolling back, trying to sell off assets, trying to merge, trying anything, and nothing is working. But we're seeing this not only with Deutsche Bank, especially Italy, it's terrible, China, India, and you will start to see this because what you got to remember is Germany is the most solid economy in the European Union. They are the export powerhouse, and they are the ones with the least amount of debt. And even though that is the case, Deutsche Bank has had massively terrible decisions with their depositors' money, and a lot of depositors are going to lose their money here with Deutsche Bank. And of course, Commerzbank is not any better than the Deutsche Bank. Deutsche Bank is, of course, the American arm of JP Morgan selling derivatives over in Europe, of course. So they are responsible for the derivatives crisis that sold to all these pension funds all across Europe, that crashed all the pension funds in 2008. So they were the major player here, and of course they're the number 3 or 4 of the globally systemically important banks that is rated by the Financial Stability Board, which is a board of all the biggest central bankers in the world. So they we have a bank that's compared to Lehman Brothers back in 2007 and 8, it's massive. Still the derivatives book is so many times ridiculously bigger than the GDP of Germany.
John,
Josh.
I have to ask. I mean, how is Deutsche Bank even still existing? Like, why is it still up and running? I just don't understand how this thing hasn't completely collapsed already.
Well, how it's up and running, Josh, is because of central bank intervention. For example, the ECB has bought corporate bonds like a maniac. They've been buying a mass, Josh, on a huge scale, and they're continuing now to do that. So that's one of the major things. And of course, if Deutsche Bank went, Josh, it would be game over for most of the financial system in the world. People are not aware of that. So of course, you're going to prop it up as much as they can until there's, the whatever, snowflake is landing and then starting the avalanche, of course, to the central banking system, eviscerating it. That is what, whatever these decisions are, when the trust breaks with Deutsche Bank, of course, with the population of Germany as well, that's when you're going to see, when the bank runs start to happen with Deutsche Bank, Josh, that's when you're going to have total chaos around the world, because the problem is not just like the little bit amount of deposits that they have. The problem is the $43 trillion worth of derivatives. They managed to get it down to 30 trillion, something. But they still haven't gotten it down, like from 43 trillion, I think it is, something right now. So it's ridiculous. They are not able to deal with their problems. They are dead. They're bank that's falling. It's a zombie bank, together with most of the other banks like JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs. How much people tried to say that they're solid banks, or the Canadian banks. But all of them are zombie banks walking, made possible by the intervention by these central banks, bailing them constantly out by shoving more money their way.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy, and it's all fake. It's so fake. You look at Frankfurt, Germany, for example, and one thing that stands out is that it was pummeled during the war and was almost completely destroyed. There's almost no buildings that remained in Frankfurt. So basically all the old-looking buildings in Frankfurt are fake. It's very interesting at the same time that then you have Deutsche Bank, then you have the ECB also in Frankfurt, and it's just these fake entities. Everything's fake coming out of that city. The financial structure is completely fake. And all the while, you just see homeless people everywhere around the financial district. When I was there, I was shocked and appalled.
Must be bankers, Josh. Must be those bankers that they laid off.
It's horrible. Yeah, it's just so much poverty. Yeah, well, when I was walking below Deutsche Bank's headquarters, I was worried that I was going to be hit by one of them falling from the roof there, or maybe in the Monty DePaschi style of falling out of the third-story window backwards into an alleyway to kill yourself, because I'm sure that's believable. But anyway, I want to note that, I mean, again, like I mentioned earlier, if you look at John's own research into this as far as the balance sheets of these banks go, most of the major banks throughout the world have a cash-to-deposit ratio that's so extraordinarily and excruciatingly minimal that it tells you that most of these banks are bankrupt as it is. The recession never ended. It's continued. It's just been papered over with vast amounts of debt. And then all the while, Deutsche Bank, compared to all these other major banks as far as the cash to deposit ratio goes, isn't as bad. So what does that tell you, folks? Everything's fake. It's exactly as Kiyosaki told us in our interview with him about a year or so ago. Everything is fake. The fake money, fake news, fake politics, fake people. Everything's fake, and it's time that people stand up and be real about this and protect themselves and protect their money and ensure their wealth and ensure themselves for the futures and break free from this whole world order of financial ruin and poverty and inflation and just absolute slavery. So as we finish this off, John, what are some solutions that people can look at? Because one way or another, Deutsche Bank's going down. Deutsche Bank's going down. You look at the GDP of Germany, $3.5 trillion versus a derivatives exposure of $45 trillion, and the inability for Europe to possibly bail it out to that extent. It's just absurd. What are the solutions for the people on the ground that are going to be affected most by this disaster that's impending?
Well, the solution is to pull money out of the banks. That's just my opinion, of course. I think that's the number one thing we have to start doing is actually like making these organizations, these criminal cartels around the world, listen to us a little bit, because one of the major things why they're trying to ban cash jars is because they want to prevent bank runs in the future. So that's their massive Achilles heel here that we have to come after. And I actually have some big plans coming, in the summer of stuff that we're going to do all across the world. I believe that we're going to set off a huge organizational, multilateral organizational move here, where we're going to have some interesting things happening around bank runs. We'll stay tuned for that. I'm not going to spill the beans yet on what's happening behind the scenes, but we have some people that are starting to pay attention and be very interested in coming after these banksters
John,
that terrorized us on that global scale.
That hint you just made makes it very, very possible that you're going to be Epstein. So it's been nice knowing you.
Yeah, well, I said that, but I don't care anymore. This is something that has to come out, Josh, and it's gonna happen. I just let us, like, just for one, I'm gonna let one little thing out there, and people are gonna start to. I talked to Tim Picciott. Actually, Tim Picciott was the guy with the idea, but we're not gonna talk about that yet. So what happened is that I bought bankground.org, bankground.ca, and the bankground.com. So there's some things under the radar that these banksters are gonna sure suffer for all the terrorism that they had throughout the decade, since they ever were created in Venice.
They better work hard to force that cashless society on the populace and create a massive technocratic super state Chinese style with sesame credit real quick, because they're running out of time, and with interest rates going down, they're really running out of time. So they're desperate. We know they're desperate. I want to finish off this video, John, just by noting, food, water, shelter, self-defense. You're not gathering things for the toughest guy on the block. Gold and silver is wealth insurance. In my opinion, not investment advice. It's just history. Look it up. It's very easy to understand. There's more solutions than there are problems. Decentralized, properly, fundamentally useful cryptocurrencies and blockchain infrastructure technologies. Outside of these entities, which interestingly enough, Deutsche Bank has been very interested in trying to back up and save their butts with cryptocurrency lately, and there's been a few articles coming out about that as well. But with that said, I just want to finish it off by saying the most important lesson to be learned of all is independence, self-sustainability, freedom. responsibility. Responsibility and freedom go hand in hand, and it's never been more important than today, folks, to become a more responsible, self-sustainable individual. Understand the money so the money can't control you, and the people that control the money can't control you. Don't be a slave. Decentralize. Free yourself. Free your life. Free your mind. Free your money. And I realize a lot of people out there are impoverished. They don't know they can't manage their money because they don't have money. Well, there's a lot of lessons to be had out of that. And I think it's important that people look to putting a few dollars if they want, in my opinion, again, not investment advice. There's a whole bunch of legalities surrounding this, but put a couple dollars that they might have had for a coffee or something like that into like something like Bitcoin, or, just do something, whatever you can. You have to save up, and if you don't have money, then there's other solutions as well. There's just self-sustainability, knowing how to do things, knowing how to take care of yourself in the face of terrible things, because you know who's going to survive the best in the next collapse? It's not just people with money. The people who are going to survive the best are the hunter-gatherers who've been independent all along and never had any money to begin with. So I think that needs to be noted as well. But anyway, I appreciate you joining us today, John. I want everyone to check those links below. We're trying to make our videos a bit shorter lately, so I want to get everyone. I've been doing this survey lately regarding who's watching the video up to this point. And I want people to write below, and I told them to write the same thing in the past on a recent Deutsche Bank video. Write short Deutsche in the comments below, and let's see what happens. It'll be good to make it'll be obvious to us that you actually watched the video up to this point and aren't one of the people that commented 5 seconds after we published.
Deutsche Banks will be short and have collapsed.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with commenting 5 seconds after we publish, like thanks or something like that. But a lot of people have been writing negative, angry comments without even watching the video within seconds. So I just want to do this survey to help us, and it also helps with the algorithm. So check those links below. We have a merchandise store up on Teespring, so check out the Wham merchandise store linked below as well. You can support Wham by purchasing one of many of our items, and of course we have GoFundMe, Patreon, Subscribestar, and we have Float.app, flote.app's new social media where I'm posting more than anywhere else. And there's so many options, so make sure to check those links below. And most importantly, just free yourself and live by example, folks. It's more important now than ever before. So anyway, I appreciate you going into all of this with us, John. And until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson and John Sneisen signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change. Like what you see here at Wham, don't forget to check the links below. GoFundMe, Patreon. We cannot do it without you guys. Every donation is extremely, extremely appreciated as we're getting incredibly shadow banned. We've lost 80% of our audience since January of 2019 and counting. They are ripping us apart here on YouTube, and the only thing we could do in the meantime as we prepare for the next big step is to ask for help from the viewers that support our free information that we try to post on a daily basis. You can also find us on Subscribestar, where just $1 a month, that's all it takes, $1 a month is all it takes to truly make a huge difference. If everyone gave $1 a month, it would change everything for independent media, and we could win this information war, and we can defeat the mainstream medias eventually. And of course, on Subscribestar, we post subscriber-only content that you'll only see on Subscribestar. So make sure to pledge there, become a patron. That makes a huge difference, guys. And also, don't forget to check out our Bitcoin address below in the comments and description, as well as on the screen for you to scan if you please. And also, don't forget to subscribe to us on the alternatives. We will likely be deleted by YouTube in the next 2 years. It's already happening on a vast scale, so make sure to find us on float.app, that's flote.app, at Josh Sigurdson, as well as at Wham, W-A-M. Float.app is replacing every social media, and I mean, it's just incredible the opportunities it provides for not just creators, but for the average person who wants to get away from these nannies telling them what they can or cannot see. They plan to replace Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, Tumblr, Reddit, and Patreon. You could subscribe to us on Float and pledge with cryptocurrency. It's really innovative. We are also on BitChute at World Alternative Media, as well as so many others, Minds, PocketNet. You can find us at World Alternative Media on Instagram. There's many options. And finally, don't forget to join us at Anarchapulco 2020, the famous event, the best liberty event known to mankind, other than perhaps Anarcho Vegas 2020. There are two major events coming up that we are extremely excited about, and you can use promo code WHAM, that's W-A-M, and save 10% on your tickets to these legendary conferences. There's so many amazing people speaking there. You won't want to miss it. So make sure to support in any way you can, even if it's just sharing our videos, pressing like, pressing to be notified. Anything helps, folks. You are the change you wish to see. Thanks for watching, everyone. And until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.
I'm sure you have already changed people's minds in your young age because you're involved, and I like that.